everyone. So this Wednesday, February 17th, is a very special holiday in the church calendar. We're going to celebrate Ash Wednesday. And about 4 weeks after Ash Wednesday, we celebrate Easter. But the time between Ash Wednesday and Easter is called Lent. And Lent has always been a period of fasting and self-reflection and prayer. And we do this to symbolize when Jesus was fasting for 40 days and 40 nights in the desert. Okay? In the old Roman Empire, so the faithful kept a very strict fasting diet throughout Lent. And during that time, they couldn't eat any meat, they couldn't have any milk, they couldn't have any cheese. So they made bread with only water, flour, and salt to remind them that Lent was a time of prayer. And that's why the pretzel is one of the most important foods to symbolize Lent. Right? So first, let's take a look at the ingredients that we need. We're going to need 2 packages of yeast. We need 1.5 cups of warm water. We need 2 tablespoons of sugar. We're going to use 1 teaspoon of salt. We're going to use 4 cups of flour. And later on, we're going to use 1 egg. Okay, so we're going to start by mixing some of our ingredients together. Okay, we're going to open the 2 packages of yeast. And we're going to mix this in a bowl with the warm water, the sugar, and the salt. Okay. So now we're going to take 1.5 cups of warm water. We're going to use 2 tablespoons of sugar. And now we're going to use 1 teaspoon of salt. Once we have all those ingredients in the bowl, we're going to mix them together until you can't see any of those dry ingredients. So we want to mix until all the salt, the sugar, and the yeast is all dissolved in there. Once that's all mixed in there, then we're going to take 4 cups of flour. Here's our 3rd cup of flour. And finally, our 4th cup of flour also. Okay. So once we have the 4 cups of flour in our bowl, then we're going to mix it all together. We're going to start with the spoon, but it's eventually going to get harder to mix. So we're going to pour it out onto a clean surface. And we're going to have to knead the dough with our hands. Okay, that's looking good. So it's getting a little hard to mix now with my spoon here. So I'm going to pour this onto a nice flat surface. Okay. I like to put a little flour sometimes on here so it doesn't stick. Okay. And we're going to start kneading all that dough with our hands. We're going to do this for about 5 minutes, okay? And then after we do that, we're going to shape our pretzels. As a matter of fact, the word pretzel comes from the German word Bretzela, which means arms, right? And in a few minutes, when we make our pretzels, you'll see why, right? Back in the 1610, the monks, they baked strips of dough that they folded into the shape of a pretzel, and it really looks like a child whose arms are praying, right? I'm going to use a little bit more flour here because my dough is a little sticky. And those children would get those pretzels as rewards for saying all their prayers. Okay. So again, we're going to have to knead our dough for about 5 minutes, okay? So if you want, you can pause the video for a little bit until your dough looks like it's ready, okay? It's going to look kind of like this when it's ready. I'm going to knead mine for a little bit more. There we go. What do you think? Do you think that looks good? Okay. Okay. Once your dough is nice and kneaded, we're going to divide our dough into 8 pieces because we're going to make 8 different pretzels. Okay. So we're going to cut off just the equal amounts for everything. There's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay. We tried to get them about the same size. Okay. So now we're going to roll each one out. So we have kind of like a long snake that's about 18 inches long. Okay. So it's about this long, a little bit over a foot. Okay. So we're going to roll it out so it's nice and long and skinny. So if you want to pause the video until you have all 8 pieces rolled out nice and long and skinny, go right ahead. Okay. So after we have all of our pretzels rolled out into thin strips, we're going to ask an adult to preheat the oven to 425 degrees. Okay. Now we're going to shape our pretzels. Okay. So I'm going to tilt this down so we can see. Okay, first, we're going to grease our cookie tin. This is going to help so the pretzels don't stick to the cookie tin after they're finished baking. Okay, now we're going to make our pretzel shape. So we're going to hang the pretzel like a swing. We're going to turn it and twist it around one time. And there we see our pretzel shape, okay? So you should have 3 holes in your pretzels. And the holes represent the Holy Trinity, like the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And not only were pretzels eaten during Lent, eventually pretzels were eaten on New Year's Day. And in Germany, children hung pretzels around their necks. And the pretzels hung on Christmas trees for good luck. And during Easter, parents even hid little pretzels so the children can find them. So that was kind of an early way to find Easter eggs. So we're going to make those pretzel shapes for all 8 of our pretzels. We'll do that again, okay? We hang it like a swing. We turn it around one time. You could lay it down, but then you loop it over. So there we have our pretzel shape. Okay, so you're going to do 8 of those on your tray. Okay, so once we have our 8 pretzels on our baking sheet, now we're going to crack an egg and we're going to mix it together and we're going to brush the egg onto the pretzels. That's going to give it a nice golden color on the outside of that pretzel. The first kind of pretzels were soft pretzels. Some people say that hard pretzels came about in 1600 when bakers fell asleep while they were tending his fire and it burned the pretzels to a crisp. Nobody really knows if that story was true, but it's kind of a funny story. Other people think that Julius Sturgis made the first hard pretzel back in 1861 in his factory in Pennsylvania. They were super crunchy and salty and lasted longer in an airtight environment than the soft pretzels did. This helped them be sold far away in stores far from the bakeries and be kept on shelves for much longer. Okay, once we brushed our pretzels with that egg wash, now we're going to sprinkle some salt on the pretzels. That's going to give the pretzels a nice flavor. And it's okay if the pretzels look a little thin. They're going to plump up nice when we cook them in the oven. Did you know that April 26th is National Pretzel Day? Each American eats about 2 pounds of pretzels per year. And pretzels consumed in Philadelphia is estimated to be over about 12 pounds of pretzels per person in a year. That's a lot of pretzels. The largest pretzel ever made was 40 pounds and 5 feet across, baked in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So once we have our pretzels on our baking sheet, now we're going to put them in the oven. Okay, so once we have our pretzels all shaped and on our baking sheet, now we're going to put them in the oven at 425 degrees. We're going to keep them in here for about 12 to 15 minutes. We want them to get a nice golden brown. While the pretzels are baking is a great time to clean up a little bit. Let's see how they're coming. Almost. A few more minutes. Okay, so my pretzels have been cooking for about 13 or 14 minutes. I think they're ready to come out of the oven now. Don't forget your oven mitt. Ooh, they look good. And there we have our nice golden brown pretzels. And they plumped up nicely too. I hope you all enjoyed making pretzels today. Now we can eat them. Have a great day, everyone.